The History of Albion, Part 1. The following is the first in a series of exclusive extracts from the renowned Arrowmark-based historian Brian Bifford's upcoming book, Albion, a Biography. We, at the Friends of Albion Historical Society, are excited to share them thanks to our partnership with the Fine Print Bookshop in Bowerstone. The Fine Print Bookshop. Lose yourself in both book and shop. On the dark origins of Albion.
Where do we come from?
The people of Albion have long pondered this question. Well, at least some of us have. Other, less naturally inquisitive minds don't seem to think about it much at all. Or they happily believe a folk tale told to them by their granddad, in which an amorous giant sired Albion upon a mountain. But, I asked my granddad, if this were true, where did the giant come from? Or the mountain? The man had no answer. For you see, dear reader, I care little for folk tales and fairy stories. Instead, through rigorous research and painstaking documentation, I believe I have unearthed the true facts, Albion's history. We all know the legends, of course. Once upon a time, Albion was a verdant land of uncompromising, gentle beauty. But, the story goes, this beauty was coveted, and so Albion fell under the rule of three beings: the Jack of Blades, the Knight of Blades, and the Queen of Blades. Together, they were known as the Court, and, it is said, they were not of Albion. They wore masks to hide that they had no human face, but they were powerful and cruel, and their reign was a time of suffering, torment, and misery. How did it end? We all know this legend too. Old Kingdom writings suggest that a small number of ordinary people suddenly gained great command of magic, channeling it through their will. These will-wielding heroes were led by the legendary first of their kind, William Black, and his two acolytes, the lesser-known heroes of Blood and Bower. In this story, the legendary trio defeated the court and ushered in a new age for Albion's oppressed peoples. Yet, other explanations for the end of the court's reign can be found. Some writings, for instance, suggest that the cunning, power-hungry Jack of Blades betrayed his two brethren, with his scheme somehow leading to the court's downfall. And a few Old Kingdom scholars even suggest the court merely grew bored, leaving Albion behind in search of new diversions, new lands to conquer, and new hitherto unmaimed peasants to torture. If this were true, the court could return at any time. But fear not, gentle reader, because through thorough research and analysis of these contradictory accounts, I have concluded that the legend of the court to be a folk tale, perhaps even Heroes Guild propaganda. The court, in my view, is merely the story of a tyrannical ruler and her oppressive reign, twisted over hundreds of years into something more lurid. It would make sense, would it not, for the Old Kingdom's newly emerging heroic ruling class to create an elaborate fantasy that legitimized their rule. Even today, the legend of the court can be found celebrated in murals found within the Heroes Guild itself. Or so I'm told. The guildmaster wouldn't let me in. What is undeniable, however, is that when the court was overthrown, the Age of Heroes began. I think that's enough from the Friends of Albion Historical Society. What can we learn about the new Albion from Brian Bifford's upcoming book? Well, first off, a new location name, Arrowmark, so add that to the list of confirmed places. This isn't a location from any of the previous games. There is a chance that we won't even be able to go there, as previous games have included references to locations not accessible to the player. But I am hopeful we'll not only be able to go there, but also be able to meet Brian and follow a quest line akin to Bell's archaeology quest in Fable 2. The Friends of Albion Historical Society is a new invention to me, so I'm sure we'll get more reveals from them and more information in the lead up to the game. We've got a name for our Bowerstone bookshop, and it's in perfect theming, the Fine Print Bookshop. Lose yourself in both book and shop. They will hopefully be printing many manuals on how to properly express ourselves. Belching for beginners, dead handy, and, if like me, you're having trouble seducing your partner, try picking up a copy of Come Hither Dear, or maybe taking the armour off before bed. First and foremost, Brian talks about the history of Albion being based on legends and folk tales. He even seems to doubt his own sources due to conflicting Old Kingdom writings, so it isn't clear-cut. Rather, it's based on years of folktale passed down from generation to generation. There's no, absolute truth when it comes to Albion's history, and Brian is throwing in an entertaining amount of conspiracy theory to boot. The folktale of an amorous giant siring Albion atop a mountain is new to me, but there appears to be evidence for it in the trailers. It would make a hilarious rug pull to find out that none of the other possible origins were true, and it was actually just a horny giant so proficient in the art of lovemaking, he caused the creation of an entire continent. Talk about a Big Bang Theory. That was low-hanging fruit. I'm sorry. This is, I believe, the first official artwork for the court, and their design is great. They've nailed that otherworldly feel, especially with the Knight of Blades. He reminds me a bit of Vort of the Boreal Valley, if you've ever played Dark Souls 3, or Smaug if you've played Dark Souls 1. His proportions don't quite make sense, but you know he's going to fuck you up with that axe. The Queen of Blades is giving off that eldritch horror energy. She looks like she's almost half ethereal, and I have to say, that is one hell of a crown. I want it. I want it now. Sadly, they are still outdripped by Jack. I would have liked for their designs to have included a little bit more of the red cloth Jack is wearing, or some gold trim in places. Maybe these are affectations Jack picked up after spending so much time in Albion. After our introduction to the court, though, through Brian's story, we see the first real variation from the old lore. The main addition being William Black's two acolytes, the Heroes of Blood and Bower. Tiny sidebar. Bower, in the Fable universe, is usually a reference to the hero of Bower Lake, the protagonist in Fable 2, which is a nice touch. But the word Bower, as a name, comes from the Old English word bowyer for bowmaker. So I was really hoping we were going to get to see a hero with a bow. The old lore had William Black taking down the court solo, then becoming the baby daddy to every subsequent hero. The new lore says a small number of ordinary people gained command of magic through their will, and they were led by William Black, who was the first. I kind of hoped William Black and his two acolytes were going to be a hint to the Heroes of Skill, Will and Strength format from Fable 2, but judging from the artwork, that's not quite the case, although we do see a hammer, a rapier, and a sword. It seems more like these three represent the alignments. Assuming the Hero of Blood is this dark plate-wearing hero, and the Hero of Bower is the one wearing the gold plate, their weaponry also lines up with this. Paladins traditionally wielding hammers, while rapiers are often reserved for people with ulterior motives. Especially if you're going to hold that dagger in reverse grip like an absolute edgelord. That leaves William Black in the middle of the alignment as a neutral leader. So instead of William clutching a 1v3, we've got a 3v3 competitive mode match. That reminds me, I haven't played enough CSGO to be making this reference.
You guys really don't know enough about basketball to be doing this.
One thing I will say here is we can see Jack dropping the Sword of Aeons, which might explain how it ends up in our world. But potentially more interestingly, where is the Knight of Blades' axe? If Jack dropping his sword leads us to be able to obtain it, is the same true for the Knight of Blades? Are we going to get a massive axe to roam around town with? Next, Brian goes a little InfoWars on us with some conspiracy theories.
I don't like him putting chemicals in the water, turning the frickin' Hobbs gay.
I can believe that Jack betrayed the court to ensure his own survival, but the idea that the court just left doesn't quite sit right with me. However, it does leave the door open to some potentially fun stories if that were the case. because that would mean William and his mates took the credit for them leaving. And if they did just return, that would really leave the rest of Albion in the lurch. His final conclusion, that the court is just an exaggerated history of some evil tyrant's rule, is far too convenient. If anything, I think he's trying to sow the seeds of dissent among the people of Albion, from what we've seen in the trailers, plus the history of Albion. I'm starting to think this game could well be taking place during a time similar to the in-between of Fable 1 and 2, when the number of heroes was waning and people were becoming untrusting of heroes, which eventually led to the destruction of the guild and the murder of all the remaining heroes. Brian's point that the legend of the court would be very convenient for an emerging ruling class of heroes does hold water, especially when you consider that the last image to go with the story is just William Black representing himself as Albion Jesus. Regardless of the court's validity and William Black, I am loving this fresco-style artwork. Shout out to the guy looking directly down the camera at the painter like, yeah, we did it, I helped! The medieval equivalent of an extra looking straight down the barrel of the camera and ruining a take. I'm pretty sure these images are going to appear in the Chamber of Fate. Partly because of the shape they take, it fits so nicely into those alcoves, but also because Brian mentions that he believes they are, even though Humphrey won't let him into the guild. So, question is, what do you think? Did William Black and his acolytes rout the court, save Albion, and become a benevolent ruling class? Did Jack betray his allies to save his own skin? Or did the court just get bored and leave for more vulnerable pastures, giving William Black the opportunity to take the credit and become a convenient ruler of Albion? I love that the law of Albion is less set in stone. Also that we've got characters sowing mistrust in the guild. It really kind of helps to bring the world to life. I really hope that you like the format of this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and please don't forget to like and subscribe. The final release of the game grows ever closer, and there's going to be so much fun to be had. Making videos, doing deep dives, theory crafting, and making shitty jokes at my own expense. Don't forget, you can catch me on Twitch or join my Discord for go live notifications and casual chat. I'll see you all soon, and until then, look after yourselves. Bye for now.